Hey there, beloved Ascension pioneers. Today I want to talk about the way of the new in comparison with the old, which was a lot of the times based on putting labels on things. The mind wants to reference things so it can have a broader perception of it. But is that so? Is that the reality of it? Is that our true nature? What is also happening now with all these alignments, and especially the eclipse, which occurred yesterday, last night, many people experienced it differently, of course, because we're all on our own level of awareness and assimilating our light bodies, our light codes, our true authentic self. So basically, we are experiencing things differently. But what is similar to all is we're entering this space of void, which seems rather frightening sometimes, because here in this space, basically, you can no longer have these roots that are based on labeling things, putting things in these boxes, labels with association with something. I would like to also give a few examples, which are of the old, and would like to then welcome into new, which is basically living in the full presence of the now. And whenever we're not comfortable with the now, because the now carries in the energy of now, is all the emotional energy, all the truth that needs to be, flowing through us at that time, in that now moment. So sometimes what people like to do is create everything but that now to distract themselves. So also labels are a part of that. With labels, we're trying to put things in a way, like define them so they can get meaning. But starting to read the Tao Te Ching again with the amazing wisdom of Lao Tse, whatever you would like to call it. It's about the nameless and the formless, and that which just is pure beingness, the womb of the Divine Mother, the Great Mother. Because before all creation is birthed into beingness, it's just, being seated by that light of Source. And we all carry that unmoving force of the I Am Presence within us. The soul, which you can say is the feminine part of us, the part that is individualized in all aspects of creation and all forms of life, but we each have the eternal spirit knowing, which is the I Am Presence, the individual, and then also being bound together in the global, in the greater I Am. First in the group I Am, and then the great I Am, the source of all that is. What I'm noticing is that a lot of individuals now, because we're embodying the old, we're like flushing it down the toilet, are still like trying to grasp on the old, like holding on to these patterns, to these false states, because everything that we define as such is our false self. And the moment we sort of like link ourselves and define ourselves with this false self that is not our true self, which is pure beingness, and we're now allowing that beingness to be more experienced through us, and it is all about the experience of that beingness in particular form. And when we do that, we forget who we are in truth. I'll give one example first, and then I'll move on to speaking further about this. I've received a comment on my video about twin flames and sharing my own experience. And as you know, every story is different. Every experience is different, although there always will be associations. And I call these what binds all life is divine love. But how we experience our story within that love is different and unique, and how we as soul particles, travel this infinite time and space. We are each so individualized that sometimes, when we forget about this and we forget about the uniqueness of it, we want to kind of like compare ourselves to other people, or we want to understand why other people are a certain way, that maybe then we will feel more comfortable being who we are, kind of like needing validation. And sometimes this, what comes of it is human analysis. But in truth, the heart only feels, and the heart can only feel. And the truth is only being presented to us through feeling and embodying it on our own. So the comment that I received was about me and my beloved, and what someone doing a reading for us, we never even asked about it. First of all, that was very funny. And about them being a certain type, me being a certain type, and how that functions, and how they've developed the method for this, and how we can see further about that on their page and the description and the whole theory behind it. And I was just laughing because nothing wrong with it. I see everything neutrally. But can you see how we still do that? Can we still see, first of all, how we deal with other people instead of really focusing inwardly. Because, when later I reply to that person about why there's such a need to really associate with me in my life and my story, and why there's a need to define it, why there's a need to do a reading if someone doesn't even ask you for it. You know what a reading means? A reading means when someone asks you, take a look at my energetic dynamics, and they give you permission. Like, for instance, in energy healing, you cannot say to someone, you know what, I'm sending you Reiki, and they don't even know about it. You know what happens in that case? When you're sending something to someone like energy and they're not even open to it because they're not even aware of it, they haven't given you energetic permission, like allowance, say yes. You're just sending, because it's being returned to you, you're just sending yourself that Reiki and energy, which is all fine. It's really, really good. So whatever we send out, it will always come back to us also, and nothing wrong with that. Like I say, it's a neutral thing. But I was really interested in why people would have such a deep interest in someone else in their life. Well, basically, the one thing that is similar to many individuals is comparison. Trying to understand others in order to understand ourselves, and that's labeling. Because we feel like we want to belong, we feel like we understand humanity if we understand certain patterns, Even patterns that we have are so individualized that we cannot put them in a box and say, this is how human being functions. We have been doing that in all forms. For instance, what's good for us to eat, not to eat. We're individual beings. And sometimes even when something is considered as healthy for someone, maybe for someone else who's even more sensitive would be even allergic to that, because we are very much different. So I reply to that person discussing this labeling and why the mind needs to associate with that so much. And the person asked me, well, how can they then explain this to people who need more, more physical approach, more understanding of how things are shaped, how things are formed, those who just don't get a clear sensing of it through feeling. And you know what? It's not about other people. If you tell yourself something like that, if we feel that we're doing something for others to better understand it, we're fooling ourselves, because we are only here to know thyself, ourself, our own self, our own intimate sacred path. So, for instance, in that example, my own sacred relationship, which is mine, it is our story. It is our, because it's a mutual relationship. So it's our story, it's our own experience. So therefore, the sacredness is only felt by us. So how can we have, as human beings, turn away from the heart so much? How can we have turned away from the simplest simplicity? How can we not see the truth is so simple that when in fact, when you're coming from the highest, broadest perception, you will feel such relief, such freedom, and at the same time, you will feel the need to laugh because it is all so simple and has always been there. So it's written in Tao Te Ching, which is very perfect in alignment with my own knowing, is that a master. That means one who masters their beingness here. That they actually operate in ways that people won't even have the feeling they did something, because they will realize things on their own, that they'll be doing things on their own. So it looks like master hasn't even done anything. But you see, they have. With the beingness, we do the most, and with the feelingness, with our feeling side of life. That's who we truly are. But basically, in this final stage, like final chapter of this book we've been writing for eons and eons of time, we've been governed by our mind. And now we've come into the end of this cycle, and we kind of see the mind as something separate. So a lot of the people will still very much focus on the mind, while others will say the other extreme. For instance, oh, the mind is bad. It's something separate from your true awareness, from your true self. So therefore, kill the ego. And I've made a video about this, and you cannot kill the ego. You can only fuse it with the light of your being. Because if you see the ego, personality, for instance, as separate from your divinity, then ask yourself, so if it's separate, who created it? If divinity creates everything anyway. You see, these are such questions that we need to keep posing to ourselves, that need to be answered from within. And the moment the question is put there, the answer already is there at the same time, because it's all part of the same scale, of the same equation. We are all very wise beings. I'm not the only one who has this wisdom to share. I'm sharing it because I'm sharing my own experience and my own journey, my own diary, diary of an Ascension pioneer. And you have that same jewel within you. So when someone comes to you in certain ways that try to label you, you know the saying, when you label me, you negate me, which is true, because we're so much more. And the reply of that person was, yeah, but this is not labeling because there's so many amounts of those different types, so it's not labeling. Yes, it is. As long as you still believe in a type, you are putting it. You're putting it out there in this box. You see, love cannot be described with words. There were many beautiful poets like Rumi, and others as well who are poets, completely sourcing their poetry, which comes from a space of non-definable, not need any labels or tags and definitions, does not need form in order to become and be form embodied. So everything that is in form is self-obvious, already knows itself. We already know itself at their deepest core. The moment we think we need to travel a certain journey to be there, and when we are there, we're going to be happy, or when we label this and when we understand how humanity works, or just maybe how our friend or neighbor works and how they think, maybe we can better understand ourselves. Is that true? Do you think that is the truth of our being? Do you think we know the source of all by knowing others and how they function? If you put all others aside and you're the only one here on Earth, and then maybe you explore Earth and how Earth works, and maybe you better understand yourself. And when you have no planet to be embodied on, then do you see where I'm going? If you don't have anything that gives you meaning and value, can you still be you, the individualized expression of consciousness, of total source? You see what we do? We put these labels and references, and we think our lives have values and meanings because of it. Or if someone understands how my story, my love diary works, and how my relationship works, so they can better understand their own. No, they won't, because of their inner knowing when they're approached by their own relationship challenges or their own living life situations. If they won't be handling them from within, because we're only here to really, really embrace and see our journey. It is about us embracing it, no one else. So will they really be going at it? Will they really be dealing with it? If they're just going to see maybe how I handled it and they'll try to find this comparison. No. You see, the moment we attach the outcomes and anything, all the resources to anything of the external, we forget who we truly are. And when we forget who we are, we forget about others. We're here to be in the space of sharing through the heart, which is the way of the new, which is what's happening now on the planet. That's why so much of the old is falling away. All these old beliefs, labeling, definitions, these analysis, and people attacking one another. I was attacked just yesterday, the day of the eclipse, which, it's kind of like goes in hand to the energies, which are very powerful, by someone that I just tag them in a photo. And I have 3 people with the same name. Sometimes I tag them, and I tagged the wrong person with that name. I don't even know that person. There's a lot of people on Facebook who just like to have friends added. They don't really associate with them or follow anything what they write, which is true. We all do what we do, and we don't really feel obliged for anything. If you do that, it's worthless. It's meaningless. You're here to be you, to be unique, and whoever comes to share your journey, that's fine. So I was really attacked by no respect, and I just replied to that person saying, you know what, I can't see, because the person said, it's written there on my wall. No, that's my policy. No tags. Remove it. Like very harsh energy coming at me. I'm like, whoa, are these the words of love? I asked, is this respect? Is this really so? Because I have so many people that are subscribed to me or follow me or whatever. I don't like the word follow, but who do check my posts. And if I would expect for each of them to know what I have written there, people constantly ask me for my email, and it's shared publicly on my Facebook page. You just have to click, about me, about the page, and you'll get it. But people constantly ask me, but I don't send them this harsh energy saying, I read it there anyway, because that's not love. Of course, sometimes people are not observant enough. Sometimes people don't make enough effort to find what they're looking for, on their own, and they want you to feed them everything. But why would we, even though that might happen, why would we be acting out of this fear-based consciousness, out of lack of respect for others? So a lot of the times I ask myself, are we really that low, that we really fall that low, where we really carry no more respect for others? Can our words be exchanged with the words of love, or the words of labeling and hostility? You can even feel the energy. It's not just about the words. Sometimes it's just about really letting it all go. And like my beautiful sister of light wrote in one of her latest poems that she shared on Facebook was, can we just truly, truly just open ourselves to love? Can we truly just, instead of all, just love? And yeah, can we just love? And change labeling for loving, love instead of labels. And one of the other examples that I would really like to mention here is something that I've noticed last week. There's a lot of charlatans out there, okay? Trust me, this is coming not from judgment, from discernment, because I know everything in the divine plan of all, the grand unfolding of all things, serves its purpose. But also, there's a lot of people who will give a false illusion that they're being someone else, and they're pretending to be this entity or this being that once walked Earth. You know what, we're here now, you know, even if you had a master soul, they would never say, I was, for instance, I was Jesus, or I was Mary, or I was someone else. And I see there's a lot of naivety going there, and people really excited when they see people claiming that they are a certain someone, instead of just really looking within and ask themselves, you know, like I always ask myself through discernment, you know, why would they feel the need to say that? If they're really so enlightened, if they're really here just about the service, would they mention that they're this and that? Usually this is being done for those of you who do not ask yourself enough here in the heart, because the heart knows. I felt when I saw certain people like that last week, my heart was like, oh, you know, something gooey, something false, something fake. And I don't even need to mention who or what, doesn't matter. It's about us knowing why this is here in the first place, why humanity is letting this, why humanity is giving its power away. It's something that I've been talking about numerous amounts of times, this empowerment, through believing something is someone and someone is really something, and you're just the person who's really excited about that, and you give them your power. But never once ask yourself, okay, is what they're claiming truth? Why would they need to claim that? Where are they coming from? Are they coming from the heart if they feel that space to really claim such things? Because there were many people, like false prophets. I think it was even written in the Bible, although I did not read such texts. I never did, but I think it's written there. And it's happening, you know, and, you know, the word false, it usually for me means wearing a mask, not being your true authentic self. So if you have a master soul here incarnated now, they would never, ever have to say, it's kind of in a way like giving yourself value, that there was someone who was here walking earth before and then claiming to be that and giving themselves these names. You know what? If I would claim, you know, I'm Jesus, no, I'm Polona. I was given this body. I'm given this personality. My soul might be of, you know, somewhere else. My true spirit is always eternal. But why would I need to claim to be something? Why would I need to label myself other than to get attention from people? You see? Do you see how this works? Can you be so discerning that you feel and tap into their energy of those people who claim to be such and such? Can you find a place of discernment in your heart? Can you? I know you can. Can you be discerning enough to really say, I only trust my inner heart, and my inner heart felt, nah, something's not right there. I didn't even need to see the videos or anything. I just went into my sacred space, and just for the heck of it, for the fun of it, I pulled one oracle card, and it was deception and envy. So basically, it was someone wearing a mask, and I'm like, yeah, I knew it. It's because I knew it. So we instantly get confirmation when we're really radically honest with ourselves. Why do we need labeling? How do and why others operate when they label themselves as something? Is it truly that those who teach can only teach through that way, the method of the old, or can they just be the embodiment of divine love and don't need any associations anymore with anything? And why would such an enlightened master soul who's here to teach through embodiment, not by forcing, because you cannot teach the mind, you cannot teach with the words, just pure words. It's about the energy. It's about light codes beaming out of it through absolute reality, which is the truth in the now moment, the truth of all, through your I am presence. So basically, why would such an enlightened being need to claim anything anyway, if they're just here to radiate truth? And why are there so many people who are claiming they have the tools, the keys to show you the whole truth, if the whole truth is there in all of us, if we were born through truth? Of course, each of us has a particle of it in our own way. Now, there are certain principles, like principles of divine creation, principles, like I like to mention them, how all creation is structured, how everything is being informed. But, you know, our own personal truth will always come through us, and not with labels, not through labels, most definitely. And it is time to end this. It is time to walk into the heart, which knows no labels, which knows no comparison. There's only love there. And today, on today, pause the eclipse, I wrote this tiny writing about this, that, you know, my spirit guidance also telling me to be more drawn within, a little more inwards, to spend less time online and more time off the grid, just with myself and in nature. And a lot of the times when we're receiving such immense downloads and the energy is shifting, we really need to be in nature just by ourselves or just rest. And I wrote this. A lot of people are in a space of this transition between external demands, such as time, other people's demands, and so on, and claiming of our own vibration, our I am presence, our own divinity. This divinity is pure beingness, and we are now allowing ourselves more to just be, as this is our true authentic self. It's also not about being passive, as we're very much active and creative, but from our own heart space and awareness, our true authentic core. This does not mean that spirit now rules the mind. Like I said, it's about diffusion, not excluding a certain part. It simply means that there is no more separation between anything, as all of our parts are whole and complete. We simply are. And that was beautifully expressed in yesterday's rite of passage from Children of the Sun Foundation. It was about the rite of equanimity, which is basically very much similar to neutrality. It's the space of pure compassion where you just compassionately observe everything as it unfolds, passes through. No labels, no definitions, you just are. And that is the highest form of doing, is being. And we're shifting, from what people like to call light workers and light beings. That's who we are. We're pure beings, of pure expressions of source. And however and wherever your source wishes to express through you in that given now moment is the right way. It is your highest, best way. So why would you need any people telling you they're something special and they have something to teach you and they have something to offer and they offer you all this things? And how these people, I've noticed how they speak is very much defending themselves, because I didn't watch the videos from those people. I just clicked on a certain segment spontaneously, and the segment was about really explaining how they operate. And I look at their webpage and it's very much similar. They keep explaining why they operate in such a way, why they don't send emails, why they don't do like this. It's like a bunch of self-explanation, a bunch of really need to defend their work. So why is that needed in the world of no labeling? Is it? Is it really needed? When the heart knows, the heart gives messages through that knowing. The heart does not need to defend, to analyze, to rationalize, to give validation, or to seek validation. So I hope you explore your beautiful divinity by allowing yourself to just be. And to be discerning enough to see those who are not and those who are still coming from the false. I don't know what their agenda is, and I don't care, because it's not about them. I do not associate with the external in such a way that I would judge it and try to understand it, because when I look at such things that are being done that way, when I ask myself, why do they do this? I don't get any answer, because it's not up to me to know. It's up for me to know and understand myself and my own path and my own knowing through spirit. And same goes for you. So whenever there's no answer, clearly it's not needed. Anyway, my beloved pioneers, I hope you're having a great week. May this eclipse trigger the most awesome feelings and inner initiations that you can possibly ever imagine. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Much love.